Zambia's hottest radio talk show, The Hot Seat, exclusive to Hot FM 87.7.
It's a lovely Thursday morning. Welcome to Thursday's edition of The Hot Seat. My name is Peter Zulu. I'm your host. And this morning we're featuring MMD President Dr. Nevers Mumba. I should make mention that we're live on multiple platforms. We're live on our Facebook page, which is Hot FM Zambia. We're live on Kwitu FM on 93.3 FM. We're live on Canela FM in Lundazi in Eastern Province on 97.7 FM. We are live on DSTV channel 912, GoTV channel 301. At this point in time, allow me to welcome my guest this morning, Dr. Nevers Mumba. Good morning and welcome to the Hot Seat.
Good morning, PZ.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for having me this morning. I look forward to an engaging program this morning.
Same here. It's good to have a Real Madrid fan after bashing them home and away.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
I was very excited when I saw that you were coming here, and I said, I'm happy that they're bringing a Real Madrid fan this week for me.
Life is about grieving with those that grieve and being happy with those that are happy. Don't rejoice in my suffering. All right. But you know, such is life.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, yeah.
Enjoying every moment, just so you know, enjoying every moment.
Yeah.
But Dr. Mumba, I'd like us to kick off our conversation with your thoughts. It's a very, very sad time world over for the Catholic Church. What are your thoughts on the passing of Pope Francis, and how do you think his legacy will impact the global community?
I think that with the passing of any pontiff, in this case the current Pope that has just left us, there's usually a shift in the structural arrangement of not only the religious space in the world, but also just in the world. There is a shift because this pontiff that we lost stood on certain values and tried to propagate those values that actually shifted some of the pillars of the Christian faith, in this regard the Roman Catholic beliefs and theology, and those eventually impact on the social life of people, not only in Rome. The humbler you should become and more understanding you should be, and I think that's what the sign of great leadership is all about.
President Hakainde Hichilema eulogized the Pope with a very, very beautiful message and just holding him into high esteem, and obviously sent a delegation to attend the funeral. What's your comment on this, seeing that, there's these conversations in the country of how he's at loggerheads with the Catholic Church here locally? Some parts, or should I say some priests or bishops in the Catholic Church have been at loggerheads with the president. What's your comment on how he's handled this, regarding the Pope's passing and the Catholic Church as a whole? Do you think this is an olive branch to bury the hatchet with whoever in the Catholic Church has something with against the president at this moment?
First of all, I think it's important for us to not exaggerate the so-called bad relationship between President Hakainde Hichilema or UPND and the Catholics. You must understand that the church has always had issues with presidents or parties in government. And there's not a single government, whether it was UNIP or MMD or PF, that had it easy with the Roman Catholic Church in this country or globally. And so to single out that there's a big rift between the two of them, that's not true. Secondly, obviously there are those within the Catholic institution that may feel very strongly against President Hakainde Hichilema, but that doesn't mean the whole of the Catholic Church feels that way. I think that only those with microphones are the ones that we seem to hear more. But that does not mean the ordinary Catholic member in Chinsali holds the same view as a certain bishop somewhere. So I do not think that there's anything to worry about, to try to feel that maybe the whole of the Catholic Church is against President Hakainde Hichilema or the UPND. When we were in government as Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, it was very, very challenging to handle the Roman Catholic Church. But we didn't at one point think that they were against us or they hated us. They were playing their role, they were doing their job. And President Hakainde Hichilema is also doing his job and listening to them. And you have no idea how many things governments have to adjust in order to accommodate some of the very vital things that are raised by church people.
Okay. I want us to shift gears to something that has been very topical in the country right now. I would like to get your views on the enactment of the cyber laws in Zambia. Do you think they will effectively address cybercrime while protecting human rights?
You know, Mr. Zulu, I think for me to answer that question, let me just give you a little background about myself, because once I do, then you understand why I'm holding a specific view on this matter.
Okay.
Over the past few weeks, I have been really reevaluating a lot of things about my life. I'm going to turn 65 next month. So it's given me a lot of time to reflect. And one of the areas I've been reflecting on is the name my father gave me, the name Sekwila. Sekwila, in my language, Bemba, it actually means weeding, removing, you know, the bad so that you leave the good, cleaning up, for a lack of a better word. And so I have looked at my life, and I seem to believe that God called me for that purpose. As a young preacher at 17 years old, as I preached across this country and continent, my message was that Jesus Christ can cleanse you from all sin. And through the blood of Christ, somebody will be cleansed and become clean and become a child of God. And then I noticed that whenever evil is being uprooted from a society, it becomes the greatest thrill of my life, because that's what Zambia shall be saved means. And so I have been very particular about, you know, cleaning up, you know, maybe the language, cleaning up the way we behave. That is why I was greatly impressed when President Hakainde Hichilema, when he came into office, he decided to clean up the bus stations and the markets, you know, from the interference of the cadres and all the mess that was created by their behavior. Anything to do with cleaning up, you know, falls into my vision of Zambia shall be saved. And that's really what makes me tick. So moving forward, I wish the president and the team could go further, not only to clean up the stations, but also to do physical cleaning of the city, for instance. I'm very, very depressed about the state of Lusaka. I think that we need to come to a place when not a single piece of paper should be dropped on the ground, not chewing gum. We need to clean up our city and our nation, because Sekwila means that. So I'm very passionate about that. So fast forward to the cyber laws. I would like to appeal to every Christian not to join the disjointed discussion of saying that the cyber law that is being updated now and has been put into law is meant to stifle what some of the people are calling human rights. I have no clue what they are talking about. These cyber laws, we need them. And I would like for the church to be the ones in front pushing for this. What it simply means is that no Christian should fight against cleaning up the online sewer system that is almost overcoming us by using the online rhetoric and hatred against fellow citizens. So this law seeks to make sure that you don't wake up in the morning, Mr. Zulu, and say, I'm going to lie against Nevers Mumba, and say that he stole this, he stole that, or I saw him with that woman, I saw him with that. And you can say that on social media without any recourse, and you get away with it. But some of us, our only capital that we have is our integrity and our morality. So if you come out there and lie against a person like myself or somebody else, it takes a lot to clean up that mess. Not everybody has money to sue you for defamation, so they have to live with that. And I think that this law, the cyber security and cyber crime, these are meant to clean up our online conversations. And the issues there that no pornography should be shown. Child pornography should not be allowed. You cannot go out there and interrupt my conversation or record my conversation in order to place me in a certain place. So when I hear people argue, they are arguing because of politics, not because they really believe in what they're arguing about.
Where do you draw the line here, Dr. Mumba, between what's in our Bill of Rights, where I have a right to an opinion, I have a right to voice out my opinion and say my piece, compared to what's in the Cyber Crimes Act, where it's somewhat curtailing what I can say and what I cannot say at some point. Okay, who determines what's rude? Who determines what's vulgar? Who determines at what point do I determine what offends you as Dr. Mumba?
First of all, I think Zambians are in a very unique situation. Unfortunately, we have declared ourselves a Christian nation, and we're going to be bound to that. We are not going to play jokes. There is in our constitution a whole section on national values, and these national values are very clear. So you can't say human rights. This has nothing to do with human rights. Where the so-called human rights clash with our values and clash with our culture, we will not go through those human rights issues with them. No, we won't, because we are not going to be victims of some vain people somewhere that have created what they call human rights. It is only a few months ago, in fact a year or so ago, that Zambia and other African countries said no to the so-called human rights of same-sex marriage because it contradicted our culture and our values as a Christian nation. And we're going to continue that you cannot have young people that insult from morning to evening and call it human rights. Insulting people and giving information that is not verified. We are not going to have that. If it means, Mr. Zulu, that I'll be the only last soldier fighting for these cyber laws to be stiffened and to be in place, I will remain fighting for these laws because we want a Christian nation. Our language must change. We must respect one another.
But who draws the line? There are words that are used in English that, you know, if I say it in vernacular or if I say it now in English, you find it offensive, okay, because of our cultural norms and everything else. But it's not offensive. But who will determine that? Because if I find something offensive, I report you to the police because, Dr. Nevers Mumba said I am of this height, or Dr. Mumba said I am of this weight. Then I find myself reporting you to the police. Is it actually setting ourselves up for failure?
No, I think that people are exaggerating this law. First of all, in a democracy, there are checks and balances. You can take me to court for anything I say, whether there is a law or not. You can take, if it offends you, you can take me to court. And you're asking who decides that?
Yes.
First of all, there are two people. The person you have offended, he has a right to feel that you have offended him. You can't tell him, me, I think it's not an insult. If I think it's an insult, it is an insult to me. So we have to deal with that. Secondly, we have courts of law. Courts of law are impartial. When you take it to court, they're going to analyze according to other provisions of the Constitution as to whether that is hate speech, whether that's defamation. They are trained to do that. Any moral Zambian, any Zambian who fears God, any Zambian who wants to obey the laws and the cultural norms of our country has no problem with the cyber laws. Every civilized nation around the world has got its own cyber laws. There is no civilized nation that has no cyber laws in the name of human rights. You go to the United States today, you arrive at the airport, some of the people are being asked to surrender their telephones and they search through their telephones to find out information. Why would America do that? Because they're interested in their sovereignty and the protection of their moral fiber in their nation and the security of their nation. So let's not do politics when it comes to our... This has nothing to do with HH, it has nothing to do with UPND. This has to do with the church.
I'm glad you've given the US as an example, but you see, they don't try and curtail an opinion.
No one is going to curtail the opinion. There's no one who has said that. I have read through the cyber laws. This updated one of 2025, there's no place where they say the opinion will be curtailed. No, that is what I'm saying. There's an exaggeration of excitement. In Zambia today, we are not listening to each other, especially political people. Even now, as I'm speaking, our opponents are not listening to what I'm saying. They have already written questions before I speak. Even if I answer that question now, which they have written, they'll still ask it in another way because they don't listen. We are not listening to each other. There is nowhere in the provision of this law where they said opinions will be made, people will be in prison for it. No, there's nothing like that. They can come and show me. Nothing like that. This is good for us. The church must be in the lead to clean up the online. Just like we are cleaning up the on street, We must clean up the online.
How does this law help our democratic? How does it score with our democratic tenets and just tenets to do democracy? Because there are provisions where they're prohibiting you, for example, you as a politician, if you're being investigated, you can't publish without permission from law enforcement agencies that, today Dr. Nevers Mumba is being questioned and investigated about this. There's information that you can just publish in public to your followers or tell the people. How does that sit with you?
First of all, let me ask a question. I know that I'm not supposed to ask you a question.
And I will not respond. I will not answer the question because I'm not here to answer questions.
I knew you were going to say that.
Just to put it out there.
Yeah, I want you to consider. This law tells us that we should not put online child pornography to protect our children, or pornography to protect our children. What's wrong with that? What's so wrong? Is that going against the human rights? It's not like that. Sir, the reason why law exists is to limit our rights so that the other people's rights are respected. Number one, it is an infringement, according to you, on my rights that the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia says that you have to be 35 years before you can run for president. At 27, I had established one of the most successful international ministries around the world. I was having thousands of people in my crusades. I was addressing 2 million people every week on television. I was only 27 years old. But the Constitution says, until I hit 35, I cannot run for president. That is an infringement on your so-called rights. But laws exist because democracy is not devoid of the rule of law. It rests on the anvil of the rule of law. So for me, I do not believe in these people that don't want regulation. A human being does not know how to live right without laws. That is why when God created man and created Israel and made Israel, the first thing he did was to give them 10 commandments. I know they wanted to do those things. They argued against God, but he knew they would not live right without laws. So as much as we have on-street laws, all we are doing is to have online laws. And it is expected of any responsible government to do that. And I know that yesterday somebody was challenging me about this law, saying, no, but Dr. Mumba, why do you support it? Is it because of HH? I said, no, I'm supporting this as even if HH changes his mind about this law, I'll push it because it falls right along the Christian values of cleaning up social media so that we have a value system that our children can develop under. Those who want it to remain the way it is, these are the ones for which God called me into this country as an evangelist, to clean up not only the lives of sin, but also to clean up the language that is on social media so that it does not injure other innocent citizens. So for me, I do not see that this provision of the law is trying to stifle anyone's human rights. This is being said. If you are saying the truth about Zulu, you are saying the truth, why should you worry? If you know that you are not insulting, why should you worry? The only people worried now are those who have nothing to say except insult. They have nothing to tell the Zambian people except to be vulgar. And we are saying to them, bye-bye. Those days are over. If you want to contribute to the debate of making Zambia better, then you better have some sense and be able to use sense to contribute to the well-being of our country. But we are not going to go back into the sewer of social media, where Waimi becomes the most important person because the young man is now promoting the culture of disrespect, insult, so that all the other children growing up begin to have that language. In a Christian nation, a person like Nevers Mumba, who was part of the process of bringing this country to be called a Christian nation, I'll fight it, even if I'm the only soldier left, fighting to clean up the social media to ensure that the Christian faith is
I want to throw something at you here. If you look at this particular law, how do we make sure that it's not weaponized as a to persecute political opponents? And I'll give you an example. In section 24(1)(b), it elevates the offense of inciting or attempting to incite ethnic divisions among the people of Zambia to terrorism, punishable by imprisonment for life. How do we make sure this is not used or weaponized by politicians to their political opponents or just ordinary Zambians? Where do we draw the line here?
I don't think it can be weaponized. No, I don't think so. I'll explain. This thing, when today you incite and do what you're talking about, when you incite, you are not picked up at that point and given the sentence for life. No, you are not immediately sentenced to life. You go through the process of the law. And I want to repeat that every law that is here is subject to the judicial system. You are going to be heard at court, and you make your point in court. No, what I meant was ABCD. It cannot be weaponized. And I know that some people think that once a government is in place, all the judges rule according to that government. It's not true. MMD won 26 cases under the Patriotic Front. Although the Patriotic Front was the one that was fueling our problems in the party and sponsoring those issues and pushing some of the judges to do the wrong thing. But because our cases were moral and they were right, we won all of them under the Patriotic Front. So I want to let the Zambians know to relax. Those who are law-abiding, those who love God, those who would like to see a clean society, a fair society, a united society, have nothing wrong to do, and they see nothing wrong with these cyber laws. But those who would like to abuse the system, abuse other individuals, they are going to have a big problem with the cyber laws.
I want to take you back to your example, Dr. Mumba, of how hard it is to clean your name afterwards. If somebody here accuses me of making a tribal remark and I'm charged and it's been elevated to, what are they calling it? They're calling it cyber terrorism. A terrorism charge is not vulnerable. It's a very, very serious offense. It's carrying a life sentence. Are we forgetting the process in which it will take for me to clear my name, even when I'm charged and accused and I'm going through that due process? Are we forgetting how bad that can be weaponized to just throw people behind bars for a long time and clear their names after a long time? We already have a judiciary that has so many cases. And you know how long the judicial system in Zambia takes to dispose of cases.
Yes, but I think that we are forgetting one thing. These things are not operating independent of each other. For number one, it's you to bring a charge against me. You are not happy because I have said something against you and you take me to court. The court process has to take place because you can't remove the issue of being charged when you do something wrong or assume to have done something wrong. Unfortunately, in a democracy, they are going to sometimes charge you with a wrong charge and you are going to be acquitted. The acquittal itself must speak to the fact that you are innocent. Yes, other people are going to try to use that against you. But the truth of the matter is that the acquittal justifies you. The acquittal says that you revert to your original position.
But what does that do for my life in me fighting for my acquittal? What does that do? How am I protected? Because at the end of the day, so I'm saying, how do we protect the ordinary citizen or politicians or people of public interest from this law being weaponized against them?
So one thing we don't do is to remove the laws in the country so that nobody goes through that process. The law exists. Even without the cyber law, you're going to be taken to court for defamation. And I was taken to court that I'd stolen money in Canada, which I had not stolen. It took me 7 years to clean up my name. Up to now, some people still believe that because it was in the newspapers almost every day. So it's not the cyber law that is going to bring that problem into play. It's already there. Anybody today can be taken to court for an assumption. And until they are proven innocent, they are going to be caught there. Unfortunately, that's what the process of the law and justification is all about. So one would not wish to see anybody go through this process. But unfortunately, in a country which is governed by the rule of law, when people have a problem with you, it may be justified or not justified, you have to go through the process. But one prays that that process is going to set you free.
Reading through both acts, the Cyber Crimes Act and the Cyber Security Act, I noticed one thing. There's no exception made for free press to freely disseminate computer data relating to matters of public safety, public health, economic stability, national security, international stability, and sustainability. Now, this omission effectively criminalizes this dissemination of critical information without the authorization by the state, by journalists. What does that do to a free press? Because a free press is critical to ensuring good governance and democracy. What's your take on this?
First of all, I want to answer that question and then come to add a thought. You must understand that at the end of the day, once a law is enacted, it does not mean that it's going to remain that way forever. Let me start from there. A law is enacted to cure something. So the first thing we should be asking is that what is the cybersecurity law and the cyber crimes law are trying to cure? It is trying to cure the mistreatment of innocent Zambians, or the proliferation of evil into a country where we would like to develop a certain culture of respect, honor, dignity, and Christian values. This is our goal, but we have now seen how people are using cyberspace to destroy people's lives completely. And we take the case of my young brother Munia Zulu. He wakes up in the morning and he says that Musokotwane and Milupi have stolen $250,000. Those are big accusations. So then he's taken to court. And that's not that they're against him. They just want him to explain how he knew about the 250 and where that 250 went. And he could not explain that. And at that point, Honorable Milupi and his colleague have to deal with the shame of being called thieves for the whole period that the case is in court. So how do you cure that? You cure that by making citizens responsible. Before they say it, let them count the cost. If you're not sure that Nevers stole the 200 kwacha you're talking about, don't you go on social media and poison the population so that people hate that person or turn away from him. This law is protecting you, sir. This law is protecting every responsible Zambian. It is working in favor of those who love justice, who love God, who love truth, who respect our culture of respect. This law is for them. And I'm glad that we're doing it. Somebody challenged me, like I said. They said, but HH was against this law before. I said, no, it doesn't matter. Even if HH was against it, I do not know in which format, because this is an updated cyber law. But even if this law, he didn't agree with it, it doesn't mean he was right. He has never come to the Zambian people to say, everything I say is right. I'm Jesus Christ. No, he made a mistake, because even that time myself, even when ECL was pushing this cyber law, I believed in it. I believed in it because I'm a Christian and I want to see cyberspace cleaned up. And that's my motivation. If it's not cleaned up, we shall have a sewer out of which people will make decisions on who to vote for. It is going to be the sewer of online. Whosoever contaminates social media more than others because they have more money and they have got more people doing it. Once it is poisoned completely, the perception of who becomes the next leader, next MP, next mayor, next president is going to be, that decision will be made based on the sewer of information that is erroneous and wrong, and will end up with a society that cannot even recognize itself. That's why I'm fighting that this law must be there to serve and to help us.
Again, what does it do for the press? Because you have paid more attention to the people that peddle lies and the people that use this in the negative. What about the press? The people that use it in the positive? The people that go out to dig information and make sure government is held accountable? The people that hold the institution of governance accountable are not allowed to publish that data without permission.
Well, I have to look at that. I was reading it this morning, but I think that you have to be a little bit fair to yourself. I think that any responsible media will know how to attack if they want to attack or raise issues. Investigative journalism can never be stopped as long as they are factual. I think that there's nothing for you to fear.
Well, it's an offense if you publish it. Even if it's factual, it's an offense you publish it without permission.
Yeah, but who gives the permission?
There you go. Those are the questions.
Okay.
It's right there.
I'm not going to
from the the Act clearly states who is responsible for making sure that this is operational. So you need to get express permission from the office that has been established under the office of the president.
No, I think that you are pushing it beyond its limits. This law does not stifle you from saying what is responsible. It doesn't. So I think that I've been listening to people talk about this law, and they are creating stories that are nowhere near the document. So for me, I think that if a journalist has got a statement that he wants to release about a situation, you are there at the opening of, maybe they're opening a solar installation, and you want to give a historical background of how load shedding has made people to suffer, and how that this thing hopefully is going to solve that problem, and telling the government that this is not enough, government must set up more solar plants. I don't think anybody is going to fight you there.
Oh, it's in black and white, Dr. Mumba. So this act established the Zambia Cybersecurity Agency, which will fall under the office of the president, and it's there in black and white. You can't disseminate information electronically, and they've highlighted which areas you can't touch and publish without permission. So it's there, it's in black and white.
So I said to you earlier that I was going to answer, and I was going to make a comment after I answered.
Please.
So I answered now making a comment. I think that we need to understand that any law made is made to cure something. If it is made and it implicates other good areas and makes them not consistent with what we want to achieve, you can always repeal that law. But it does not mean you cannot do it. If it starts to be abused, we are the same people who made the law. We can repeal the law. For me, I'm not worried about that. If anybody tries to weaponize this, it works against them politically. If a president tries to weaponize this, it would work against him politically, because Zambians are extremely intelligent people. They are extremely thoughtful people. So you cannot rule them as though they don't think. So even the president is aware that if the judicial system is going to carry out these issues, they have to do it intelligently, and they have to be within the bounds of what it means for people to express themselves freely. If they stifle them, then that law has to be repealed, but it doesn't mean we cannot proceed with it.
I'll give you an example based off the comment you've made. Most of the citizens have agreed that the Public Order Act is a bad law that needs to be repealed. There's a new law that has been put in place. It's sitting at the Law Development Commission. It's been worked on, but that's been happening for many years. I had interviewed the president in opposition before then, said it, bad law. Many other politicians have said it, it's a bad law. But after they get elected into office, things just become different. Won't this happen to these two acts where people are complaining and they're highlighting this is wrong, and when people are in office, they tend not to address those issues because it suits them when they're in office.
And that is why a very active civil society is important. Listen, there is no law that can stop truth. There is no law that can stop the movement of the people. There's no law that can stop people from freely expressing themselves. So if something becomes obstructive, the people are going to fight it out. If they don't fight it out, it's maybe because there are other people on the other side who support it and think it's all right. And the democracy hangs in such a balance. So if the Zambian people, for instance, feel that this law at some point is impeding on their freedoms to such an extent that it has been weaponized, the Zambian people will rise and demand that this thing be repealed. And it shall be repealed. Because if the government in place does not repeal it, it works politically against them. So for me, I don't look at the law as being an independent entity standing on itself. The president and his team standing on themselves. They are checking each other. I have confidence in the Zambian people, in their ability to fight for what is right. We've always fought for what is right. We are where we are as Zambia because we are fighters. And if we think this law is going to do something against us, we're going to fight it. But so far, this is a law we desperately need, and we need it yesterday. Because if this thing that is continuing to happen on social media continues up to the election, you will see by the type of people you vote into office, they will all be second-class people, people with no values, people who believe that the more you insult, the more popular you become, and the easier it becomes for you to be elected. The more you insult another person, the more popular you become. So it is very important that this law is observed. Let us see how it works. If there's anything we don't like as we proceed, we are going to demand that this law gets repealed, and not all of it, but those areas that are going to be found problematic.
In case you're just joining us, we have Dr. Nevers Mumba on the hot seat this morning. He is the MMD president, joining us on the hot seat. We're live on Kwitu FM on 93.3 FM. We're live on Canela FM on 97.7 FM in Lundazi. And you can follow the proceedings live on our Facebook page, Hot FM Zambia, DSTV, Channel 912, and GoTV, Channel 301. Dr. Mumba, we're still talking about the law. What are your thoughts on the proposed constitutional amendments? Do you think they will promote good governance and democracy in Zambia? I know the Justice Minister did present these amendments, and she's given a roadmap as to how long this will take.
Yeah, I've dealt with this on several platforms, but like I said in the beginning, let me repeat my words, that I am very concerned that we are not listening to each other. We have reached a stage where, as politicians, we are speaking above each other's heads. And I would like for us to reconsider. You need, in fact, unique maturity people to listen to someone you hate. You need to have special maturity levels to listen to someone you hate. And one thing we don't know is that the people that we hate could be the people that save us at some point and can save our lives. So it is important for us not to use hate as a way of promoting our views and our so-called values. So for me, I think the constitutional amendments, proposed constitutional amendments, they are 13 of them at the moment.
Yes.
13 thematic points of them. And they are areas that have been discussed by the Zambian people in all the previous constitutional review commissions. These are things that the Zambian people have been wanting to see happen all these years. They have been wanting to make sure that delimitation takes place, proportional representation takes place. And for us, I raised the issue that one of the amendments that has been proposed deals with a situation when a candidate resigns, say a presidential candidate, decides to resign before the election takes place. It means that the whole election collapses. And I think that Zambians do not understand that these amendments, there's none of these amendments that are working against the Zambian people. These are answers to the questions that Zambians have been asking. Like, listen, we would like to have more women represented in the system of government. And we would like to have persons with disabilities, involved in this issue. And so it is important for us to know that in order to achieve that, we have to make these amendments. So I have nothing against these amendments because the Zambian people want these amendments.
Which ones stand out for you? Which ones are you, which ones are you supporting? Or is there any amendment that you oppose?
There are certain, no, I don't oppose, but there are certain ones that I think may, we can still do without. But in governance, you cannot just think about those things that concern you alone, because it's not about what Nevers wants. But for me, I am very concerned about the issue of a candidate, or let me say a presidential candidate, who finds it difficult to continue with the campaign, or something happens that he knows he's going to lose, decides to resign from the election and pulls out. And it means the entire election collapses. And they have to call for a new date of nomination, and everything changes, so you actually paid for the election as a country twice. But the other issues that, based on that law which exists today, it means that if another person, once you do the nominations and begin to campaign, and another candidate pulls out, it means that that election again collapses. That now goes into 90 days plus 90 days, and that can go on forever. Why have such a law in our constitution? Why? Who wants that? For instance, HH wouldn't, if he was an evil man, he wouldn't mind keeping that, because it means that the whole time they are postponing, he still remains president beyond the term limit. And he can remain there for a long time. And he himself warned the Zambian people. He said, fellow Zambians, I see a lacuna in this constitution. If we don't clean this thing up, a president can stay there longer. What happened? His opponents, without reading what he said, without hearing what he said, they said he wants to stay longer. He wants to elongate his term of office. We will not allow you. You are what? And he was saying, change this provision so that when the election comes, and if Nevers Mumba resigns or pulls out of the election will still continue. That's what he's saying. And I think I'm very uncomfortable about this law remaining in our constitution even in the next election, because this thing can happen, especially that everybody knows about it now. They can pull out at a critical time. We need to change this. This is why I'm supporting these amendments.
Doc, since we're talking about the elections, I want to throw in this. What are your views on the Electoral Reform Technical Committee report by the Electoral Commission of Zambia? Do you think the proposed reforms will improve the electoral process? We had a chat with the chairman of the Electoral Reform Technical Committee yesterday on the breakfast show, and he did highlight, some of the, issues that were discussed and some of the proposals that are that came about when they sat to, discuss these reforms.
Yeah, as you're aware, I've been involved in the electoral processes in the region. I've led electoral observer missions, and I do understand the fact that the issue of the elections and electoral commissions in these countries have become some of the most dangerous points of destabilization of nations. And elections are a process. So once we have an election today, it becomes important for those who observe that election and the people who experience that election to note down certain issues that they were not happy about, certain issues that compromise the integrity of that election, and bring them out, and that is where the Electoral Reform Technical Committee comes in. And by the way, it is instituted legally by the Constitution, because the ECZ is allowed to create an ad hoc committee to be able to clean up these electoral processes after collecting all these views from, for instance, those of us that observe elections. We are very critical about small areas where we think that elections in Zambia can be better. We put them in our reports. So this Electoral Reform Technical Committee takes those things and tables them in order to improve the next election. So this is an extremely important committee, and it must be supported by all Zambians. Because if it doesn't do its job, elections are some of the most dangerous on the continent now as sources of conflict. In the past, we used to have coups take place because we had soldiers moving in and take power by force. Now, in other countries, we're having electoral commissions which are not fair and free, creating almost the same impact by being biased. They create instability, they create problems for the security of the nation, they affect the economy. So the issue of elections, sir, is extremely important. To answer your question, the Electoral Reform Technical Committee plays the role of making sure that the next election is conducted in such a manner that those problems that were faced in the last election are taken care of, so that we have a freer and fair election that will translate into the unity of the nation.
Okay, I want to ask you something, because what came out of this commission first is the biggest debate is delimitation. We heard from the chairperson that said, listen, they're going to use the 2019 report on delimitation, but they've sent it to the Ministry of Finance to determine where the delimitation will take place based off available finances, because they determine that. So they can't go ahead with delimitation without go ahead from central government, who have the money through the Ministry of Finance to do that. I'd like to get your opinion on the issue to do with delimitation. Also, he shared something. They removed one of the security checks, which is the stamp at the back of a ballot paper. He said it was costing a lot. The ballot paper already has enough security features. I'd like to get your opinions on these two propositions that came out from the Electoral Reform Committee. What's your take on those two?
I think the first one, where they're taking to government for Ministry of Finance to ascertain whether there is enough funding to undertake this delimitation, is a matter of procedure. It's process. before we undertake any project as government. You have to make sure that you ensure that there is funding for it, there's a vote for it. And so that is basically procedural, and I do not see anything wrong with that. I think they need to do that, because they can't proceed unless they're given a green light. Some very good proposals have stalled because there has not been finance to deal with it. So I see that as procedural. The next one about a stamp at the back of the ballot paper not being necessary. I think this is where all of us that are part of this process of elections must quickly ask the question, because you have to be satisfied as a stakeholder. They must have sat down to analyze that and come up with that position. But that does not exclude us as stakeholders to ask further questions. Show us those security features that make you comfortable, that we don't need a stamp at the back. And once they show you those features and you feel comfortable as well, then you proceed. But I want to advise all of us in the political process, in electoral processes, do not be lazy in asking questions. There's nothing wrong in asking questions about any electoral step or procedure before the election, because once the election is called, it's too late, you know. So all these, whether we are in the opposition or in government, this is the time to look at, to see, we want to see the ballot. How is it going to look like? What do you mean by there are enough features? Once you get satisfied, then that can be, you know, something that is adopted and move forward.
You've observed quite a number of elections, Doc.
Yes.
What's the standard practice around the region?
Well, I think in some places, I think what I was in Liberia not too long ago, I was heading the ISA electoral observation group there, and I still saw stamps being stamped on the ballot. But there are certain things that are being phased out because of technology. Things we used to do before, which we believed were really important, you and I, if you remember. But now they have been overtaken by smarter technology, and you may not need those things anymore. So I would like to look at that and interrogate it myself, and our party, the MMD, is going to have to interrogate that, which you have raised, to make sure that we are satisfied that in the absence of the stamp, we're still going to have the integrity of the election.
All right, so I guess just joining us, well, we have Dr. Nevers Mumba in studio with us. We will be opening up the phone lines for you to be part of this conversation, so keep it locked right here on 87.7. How can the government ensure that, you know, electoral reforms are inclusive, transparent, and promote credible election? Because that's been the cry for most commentators regarding our elections as well.
My experience, I have participated in many elections. My party has participated in many elections. I have led election observation teams in other countries, and I've come out with a number of observations that I think I can share with us. How do we ensure that our election, for instance, the one that is coming in 2026, is free and fair? Because it is important that it becomes an election that we should be proud of. I think it is to advise all of us to work together, all the stakeholders. Every step that is being taken by the ECZ, we have to be involved to make sure that the integrity of the election passes our own particular judgment. And so I think that it is wrong for political parties to just be complaining on the outside and shouting, instead of sitting around the table, because ECZ offices are open to all the stakeholders, not only during a time they call for a meeting, but they are open even when there's no meeting. You can go there and make an inquiry that my party is not happy about this. Civil society can go there and say we're concerned about this issue because it creates unfair elections moving forward. So the key really is to have your eyes wide open. The key is to participate in what ECZ is doing, starting now. Don't wait for next year. Start now. Every meeting ECZ calls, be there and ask the necessary questions. Nobody is stopping anybody from asking necessary questions. My prayer is that 2026 should be the best election, the fairest election we've ever had in this country. And we can achieve that if all of us have put our hands on the table to ensure that nobody plays around with that election. And we would appeal to the very depth of the moral fiber of all ECZ, our commissioners and officials, to make sure that they should never compromise their morality or their integrity or their sense of judgment by bending towards one side, either to the ruling party or some special group in the opposition. Let them represent the will and the desire of the ordinary Zambian on the street. Let them not be biased. And the only way we can hold them accountable is to participate in the process this early.
Okay. Doc, what's your assessment of the current state of the opposition in Zambia? What challenges do you think the opposition political parties are facing?
Well, let me say this. The opposition political parties, our position right now is not good. It's not impressive. I have always said this. The belief that more insults and more anger and to be more hateful than you are making political mark in this country, this type of politics is gone. And I think where a lot of us have lost it is where we have personalized our hatred against, for instance, a president, HH. And you form your entire political career on hate. And when it's coming out, all those who hate that president clap for you, and you believe that is the way to governing a nation. I want to appeal again to the Christians. This is a Christian nation. There should be no place of hate. You will never have all the time a president that you necessarily like. People, go to an election. A big percentage of them, 1.8 voted for President Lungu. They are Zambians as well. They should also be, looked after, just like the 2.8. Because at the end of the day, we must make sure that our politics is not based on hate. And the reason why the opposition is losing their mark is because it is all against an individual, and the hate that is coming out, Zambians can feel it. So I want to advise my colleagues, move away from the hate. Let us look at what are the problems Zambia is facing. Yes, the minimum prices. Yes, the standard of living. Yes, jobs. Yes, these other problems that people are talking about on a daily basis. These are the ones you should be interrogating to find solutions for them.
But people most opposition leaders have put that forward most times.
Yeah.
When you say hate, I want you to give practical examples of what kind of hate you've been hearing compared to them putting forward cost of living and all this.
I won't do that because there's a cyber law now. Because if I repeat what they say, I'm going to be implicated. Before long, I'll find the police outside. So I can't say what some of my colleagues have been saying. They say it about me. So I know exactly. And I'm not even president of the Republic of Zambia. But they have chosen that Nevers Mumba is an instrument of a punching bag that can be punched in any way. Because he's a pastor, he will not hit us back. So they practice their insults on some of us. They practice their hate on some of us. And now, with this cyber law, they have to justify that practice. So I think that my advice, and they know what I'm talking about, my advice to my colleagues, let's concentrate on country. President Hakainde Hichilema, hear me and hear me well. He will not be president of this country forever. So you cannot limit your worth as a political leader to a tenure of office of another man. Let Zambia be your goal to change this nation into a better nation. So let's move away. We need to do politics with politicians who can think, leaders who can reason, leaders who can unite this nation. And the only way you can do that is through your speech, through your conduct, and through your behavior towards your friends.
Still on the opposition, Doc, we've seen that there are some alliances being formed here and there, and what's in government now is the UPND alliance. And now, as we've seen in the past, history is repeating itself. We have witnessed confusion in some political alliances. What do you think is causing this confusion in these political alliances? Why can't the opposition unite? Because there's been a call for the opposition to unite and hold government to account, because a credible opposition means government performs, or the government or the parties that are in power perform better.
First of all, let me say, it's a very good question. First of all, let me say MMD, for instance, is in an alliance with the UPND. Okay? The alliance story is the way to go in this season of democratic elections. That way it gives people some concentrated areas to vote for instead of having 50 candidates standing. It's better that you have 3. For instance, we have 3 already defined alliances. We have the UPND alliance, to which MMD belongs, and I do belong. Then we have the Tonse alliance, and we also have the UCA alliance. There's no alliance that can survive without mutual respect. You remember some time ago here, I did mention, I was challenged by some Zambians. They said, you don't condemn HH, you don't tell him off, you don't, see anything wrong with what UPND is doing. You should stand up there and condemn it. The Nevers Mumba we know is the Nevers Mumba who condemns these people. You are finished now. You are Mshani Nawali. You are a praise singer because you are not condemning HH. Now, watch this. I answered here. I said, HH and myself sit around the table to discuss national matters. In our alliance, we talk about our difficult problems. We differ on issues around the table. When we leave that table, we face the cameras. We're a united force. We are not saying we agree on everything, but you cannot belong to an army which has a general who says something different from the other general and expect to win a war. It's not that everything that happens in an alliance is agreed upon completely by everybody, but you've got to be mature enough. You've got to be mature enough and wise enough to know how to handle your situation until you can convince the rest of the alliance partners to follow your path. Now listen to what has happened. Tonse, we had yesterday or 2 days ago, I think, when my brother Sean Tembo broke this rule of collective agreement and responsibility and decided to put the letters to Nagachinda, who is the Secretary General, and to Luinda, who is the Vice President of the faction of the PF. Now, that is taking problems out of the bedroom. Listen, Zambian people, what they ask some of us to do is not even natural. Nobody who really has a marriage that is working will take the wife's problems outside. The moment you tell me, yo, my wife is this in a club, and you start to sing about how bad your wife is, then we know there's a crisis in your family. Because a family that is running well has problems, but they solve their problems inside. And I said at the beginning that the day Tonse begins to point fingers at each other, they are gone. UCA, when it was started, we released a statement, and it's there on my Facebook. Those who have got enough time, they can scroll up, and they find the message I gave to UCA. I only said it shall end in tears. The reason I wrote that, it is because of what brought them together. The hatred against HH was too much. One thing people don't know who don't read the Bible is that hatred actually propels your enemy to higher heights than you would like to see. It's the hatred for Jesus that made him get crucified. If they did not hate him that much, he would not have risen on the 3rd day. But they didn't bargain for the 3rd day because they were concentrating on hate.
Again, when you say this hatred, I want you to quantify it.
I will.
How are you basing their UCA coming together?
Listen, if you,
based off hatred.
Yeah. So if you want to govern a country, I want you to talk about issues that affect the Zambian people. Do not talk about Nevers Mumba and his tribe. Do not talk about Nevers Mumba and the way he looks. Do not talk about Nevers Mumba and the things that are personal.
Is that all UCA talked about?
Well, I tell you, they did a lot of that. And I saw, and I could read that. And a lot of Zambians read that. So I said, because of this, the anchor for any alliance must be what is important to the Zambian people. And sing that song until Zambians hear you. I prophesied that, let me not use prophesy. I saw it out of my own experience that UCA may not last because of that. They came together, not because they agreed on a common agenda, but the agenda they had is that let's remove HH. And once we remove HH, then we'll think of what to do with the Zambian people. And the Zambian people are reading through that. So here is my justification for what I said, that in UPND Alliance, we don't stand up and, do we have problems? Yes, we have problems amongst ourselves, but we are mature enough to solve them within our own circles. You know, HH can point at me and say, Nevers, I don't like that. And I can point at HH and say, HH, that is not the right thing. But only there at the table behind closed doors. Now that our colleagues have come out in the open against each other, read my lips, Tonse is gone. Tonse is unredeemable. I do not think that UKA will be redeemable. And I want my colleagues in the alliances to know that some of us, yes, we are in politics, but we are still preachers. I'm a pastor, I'm a Christian. And some advice we give, that I give, it's really honest advice. I advised our colleagues in the Patriotic Front, for instance, before President ECL came back into politics. I said, and it's on record, it's on my Facebook, those who can scroll it up can do that. I said, President ECL should not come back to politics because he will split the party into more than 3. And today, they have 3 presidents. Why? Because MMD has been there. And we are speaking in good faith. We are not, for Nevers Mumba, I am interested in a strong opposition in a democracy. It's, you know, to have a meat-eating competition when you knock out the teeth from your other competitor and only you have teeth and you're having a competition of chewing meat. It's not a viable competition. So it's better that your competitor has teeth, you have teeth, and you win. That victory is more respectable. So here is what we say. President ECL should not come back in politics because in UNIP they tried it. Kenneth Kaunda tried to come back and they collapsed the party. In MMD, they tried it. President Chiluba tried to come back with a 3rd term. They collapsed the MMD. And it linked on one leg of winning an election with only 2%, the first time in the history of this nation. MMD won with 2% over Mazoka. And we declined because President Chiluba tried to come back. When President Rupia Banda came back into active politics, the MMD split into 3. And I said to them, if, may his soul rest in peace, if Mr. ECL comes back, unless God loves PF more than he loves us, more than he loves UNIP, they will experience something different. I told them they will split. And you know, they started so well. They had 8 candidates, just like us MMD. We started very well. 8 candidates going to the convention. And we went to the convention. I won that election. We started to build the party. We started to win the by-elections until the time when the former president decided to come back into politics and the party went into 3 ways. So we know what we're talking about. They started with 8 candidates. They paid their 200,000 kwacha. We said, please stay on that path. Don't allow Mr. Lungu to come. When Mr. Lungu came, they never had the convention. And I can tell you today, PF will not rise. It's gone. They were laughing at us to say that MMD is because Nevers is a poor leader. That's why MMD is collapsing. Nevers has made MMD to sink. Now let them tell us how they feel about the state of PF now that they're in this state. They should tell us what happened to their expertise, the knowledge of how to run political parties and how to be better than Nevers Mumba. It's a principle, sir. It's a historical fact. In this country, we have proved that when a former president wants to come back and there's an elected president already in the party or not yet, and they come, they destabilize the party. And that's where PF is, and that's why, to answer your question, sir, I think there's a problem with
Dr. Mumba,
the opposition.
Before we open the phone lines, I just want to get your opinion. What are your thoughts on the current cost of living in Zambia, and what policies would you implement to address this issue?
First of all, let me be clear that reducing the cost of living is a gradual process. I think that the Zambian people are going through a very difficult time because I'm a Zambian and I know what I'm going through myself. But it is a very, very unfortunate thing that we have to deal with the issues we're dealing with. But it's a gradual process. I have said this before, that depending on the state of the patient that is in the ICU ward, you cannot rush his discharge just because the family is demanding that, please discharge him, discharge him. Zambia was in a bad shape. A country that had started to miss its obligations to the international community in settling its debt. We lost our color, we lost our respect. The economy started to fracture. And so it is important for us to take things in perspective. I think that now that the drought is behind us, cholera is behind us, COVID is behind us, we are seeing ourselves coming back into this normalcy of starting to expect a bumper harvest or a better harvest this season. And therefore, once we have a better harvest, we are going to be dealing with food security, and we are going to be dealing with the issue of the prices of food commodities coming down because we have produced enough. So I think that these circumstances of the drought have created this problem of us not being able to afford what we need to afford because there was no rain. Now that there is rain, we think it's going to improve. So my answer is that the economy is not in a good shape now, but it is gradually being resolved, especially that this government decided to do the most important thing first, to restructure the debt, which was choking our economy and stopping our progress in development. So that, is one of the biggest causes.
So for you, the current policies that are in place are fine and we should stick by them, and you wouldn't do anything different to what's been done?
We could do a few things different because every president and every administration has got different approaches. But I think MMD, having been in this similar position in 1991 after we took off from UNIP, we think that our colleagues had no option but to do what they're doing. They couldn't do anything much until they dealt with the debt issue. And the debt issue is a thorn in the flesh. And they are dealing with it successfully to the extent that even with such a big problem, they still can give free education. Almost an impossibility, but they're doing it. Within this very complicated economic situation, they raised the CDF from 1.6 million to 36 million per constituency. How are they doing this? Is this magic? No, it's a way of taking development to our people in the midst of a challenging situation. Now, let me answer a question. I think it's not fair to keep saying that, the economy of our country is bad. It was better under PF. It is not true, ladies and gentlemen. It is not true. I'll give you one example. How do you know that the government is doing well in the economy? First of all, you have to look at the economic indicators. How are they? Because numbers don't lie. I'll take you back to the economy in 2011 when MMD was just leaving office. The inflation was 6%. I know that you've forgotten. MMD had brought down the inflation in this country to 6%. Then PF took over from the 6%. By the time they left in 2021, the inflation was at 24.6%. So they raised it during their time from 6 to 24%. So those who say PF was better, they are being economical with the truth. Now let's talk about UPND now. Where have they got the inflation? The inflation as we speak as of March this year is at about, I believe it's about 16.5%, which means in the last 3 years, they have been able to improve the inflation rate and cure this problem by bringing it down to 16%. They are projecting it by the end of this year to be at 14%. Now, what point am I making? Those who say this government is doing nothing to improve the economy, they are doing everything to improve. It depends on who you want to listen to. And definitely, it all doesn't happen at the same time. Once you squeeze and screw up all the areas, not screw up, but you tighten all the areas on top of the economic fundamentals, then it starts to trickle down to the Zambian people at the bottom. It takes a little of time, but it will.
Dr. Mumba, let's allow the people to be part of this conversation. You can call us up on 0974-870-877 or 0950-955-877.
Listen to the Hot Seat on Hot FM 87.7. It's time for you to call now and get involved. Call now and get involved.
Call us now, 0974-870-877 or 0950-955-877. Good morning.
Correct. This is the husband what is the book about representing. Mr. Mumba, and sometimes we watch on that border. This is from quoting the Bible. Because for me, you expose your hypocrisy. You are there trying to sound holier than thou. To say that no, what the oppositions are doing is bad. Yes, Your voice has been quiet when wicked things have been happening in this country. I'll give you an example. Where was your voice when Madam Nawak was disputed in a human manner? Where was your voice when people like JJ were affected mysteriously and charged on things that were adjudicated upon 10 years ago? Where were your voice when Mr. Rungu was, had his health, violated in public by a government official to say that he underwent chemotherapy? Today, we should come there and pretend to be Mr. Nice Guy. No, you are not a Mr. Nice Guy, sir. You are a hypocrite. Thank you very much, Mr. Blue.
0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Those lines will get you through to the hot seat this morning. We would like to hear from you. You can call us up at 0974-870-877 or 0950-955-877. Let's hear what you have to say. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning to you. What's your name?
Good morning, PG.
Morning.
Good morning, my great man of God, Pastor Nevers Mumba.
Good morning, sir.
What's your name?
My name Pastor Justin Matongo from John Lane Compound.
All right. Pastor Justin, please go ahead.
Yes, the fiber, the good role. For me, it is welcome in Zambia. There has been a lot of abuse on the social media. Look at this young man called Wani. He insulted my pastor, my president, Nevers Mumba. And whenever what can you say Zambia politics? Sure, we never grew up like that in Zambia. It is strange. Therefore, I'm saying as a pastor, this pastor, the people is welcome. So that other, bad vibes on our social media can go, even in politics. Senior leaders of political parties insulting without shame. I think Zambia, where are we going? Let us support the UPND for this summer, this tomorrow. That has come. It will cure our society. Our society has been colonized by politics, insults. No.
All right.
Pastor Nevers Mumba, you are speaking very well. Continue, my leader, my pastor, my bishop.
Thank you.
We still believe in you.
Thank you.
Pastors can be, political leaders. It's in the Bible. What is politics? Politics is the science of gathering people of God, natural resources of God. So who says the pastor should not be a politician? That's a lie. Thank you, my pastor. Continue speaking for the masses in Zambia.
All right.
We are listening. Thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you, Pastor Matongo. Thank you. It's 0974-870-877. It's 0950-955-877. I would like to hear from you this morning. Call us up on those two lines if you have a question or contribution to what Dr. Mumba has been talking about on the hot seat. Do call us up now. We are taking in your questions on what we've been having a conversation about. Good morning.
Yeah.
Hello, good morning. You're through to the hot seat.
Thank you. This is JM.
What's your actual name? JM.
My actual name is John.
John who?
John Mwanga.
All right, John Mwanga, please go ahead.
Yes. Good morning, President Nevers.
Yes, my dear brother. Good morning.
Very much.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
My take maybe will be, we took time. When we started developing, technology started coming in Zambia. We took it lightly. We do it lightly, people would get phones for kids, people would get phones for even people who don't even deserve to own a phone because they don't know how to use it properly, or they're not yet taught how to use a phone properly, use a laptop. So in short, what I'm trying to say is we're supposed to go back to when technology came into Zambia, so that we work on all these cyber things. A lot of people who've got gadgets these days don't know how to use them, and that's why now they're using them for anything, like it is. Yeah, so that's my take.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your call. 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. I'd like to hear from you. What question or contribution do you have this morning? We'd like to hear what you have to say. Good morning.
Hello?
Hello, good morning. What's your name?
Hello?
Hello, good morning. What's your name?
Hello? Good morning.
Morning
Yes,
to
good
you.
morning.
We can hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you. Good morning.
Okay, I think this is a bad line.
Yeah, it is,
If he's getting an echo, he's not hearing us. Let's squeeze in somebody else. Good morning.
Hello? Hello?
Good morning to you. What's your name?
Yes, good morning. Yes, good morning, Mr. Nevers Mumba.
Good morning. Good
Okay,
morning.
about the cyber, what we are...
Your name?
What's your name? What's your name? What's your name?
My name's Jerry's.
Who?
Your name again?
Jerry's.
What's your actual name on the NRC?
Frederick Jerry's.
Frederick.
Yeah,
All right,
Frederick.
Frederick, please go ahead.
Yes, I want to ask you, Mr. Nevers Mumba, this question about what I said that MMP was built buried after MMP was built first home. So, we don't know what people
Oh, shame.
Shame.
Line just dropped.
Yeah.
But I'll allow you to respond to the three that we've got so far.
Thank you so much. I think the first gentleman, I don't remember his name,
Mutembo.
Mutembo. I think he's so charged up and so fired up that it's sometimes difficult to help people like that. His question was, when Honorable Nawak was being taken to court, where was your voice? When Mr. Lungu, I don't know what he said, and JJ, and all those issues. There are two issues there. First of all, I have said it on this radio program before, that, you know, to assume that you, because you are loud on the street, are the only one that is dealing with these issues is a misplaced statement. We are in, as MMD, in an alliance with the UPND. Whenever an issue is raised in the country, I said already, we discuss those issues and we give our opinion, and we are not always agreed, and sometimes we are all agreed, but the implementation of it by the agencies of state can also be different. But neither can we stand in the way of the judicial system, because we can't say that JJ cannot be arrested, because all of us are arrested. Nevers Mumba was arrested how many times? HH was arrested how many times? So we cannot say that we should not arrest, people, so that we can, be seen to be doing the right thing. So for me, my voice has been always strong. I want the Zambian people to know that I never allow anything that is unjust, anything that is not in the interest of what Scripture says, to make its way through my hands. If it does, it's because maybe I don't have the power to change it, or I'm not there to speak about it. But there is no issue in this country. All these issues that he has talked about, we have addressed them. And some of the issues he has not mentioned have had such a wonderful outcome, but they don't know how the outcome came. They don't know the role Nevers Mumba played for some of those outcomes. So it's not everybody who is shouting from the mountain who gets a situation resolved. There's what is called soft power to solve the problems that are facing the nation. So I'm very proud of the role that MMD is playing in the alliance. Like I said, we are not going to stand on top of the mountain to condemn our colleagues when we can condemn each other inside the meetings of the alliance. Like the Tonse is doing, they have gone on top of the mountain to point fingers at each other. They are gone. It's difficult for them to come back. It's not going to happen in the UPND alliance. We're going to hold together, fight within ourselves, but we are going to fight for the Zambian people together as a united force. Then he asked the question, Mr. Matongo, Pastor said, cyber security law, the insults on social media. He basically is agreeing with what I said, that we need the Christian values to be injected in social media. And the only way to do that is to restrict some of the people who do not respect values. Maybe they didn't grow up well, or they have never read the Bible in their lives. And so whatever comes out of their mouths is something that disadvantages others. So thank you so much, Pastor Justin, for that. For Jim Wanga, he actually raises a very interesting question when he says, when technology came, we did not understand the threats to this technology. If you imagine today, the young people that have got phones in their hands, some of them don't even know the difference between the left hand and the right hand. Some of them have grown up on the streets. They don't know respect. But they have access to social media, and they are going to spew whatever they have on social media. And so that's why it's regulated everywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. And so I think that I agree with you, but it's not too late for us. This is what this cyber law is all about, to hold everyone accountable to what they say and what they write and post on social media. And I think it's a good demand that this law is making on all of us.
Let's pick up some more calls. 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Peter.
Morning to you. What's your name?
Lord Soko representing Mateo. I never moved from Mavashai.
How are you? What's the name?
Lottie.
Lottie. Yes, Lottie. Soko, Emka.
So, mine is a simple question. I represent the group which is not supposed to be happening. In your mind, don't you think that the current government, because all Zambians and Apollo, this cyber law was rejected by them then when they were in opposition? It was the devil that was not needed among us. Now that it has become an explanation to all of us, don't you think that the an apology to say that, oh, my children, we made a mistake by telling you that color A is not good for you, but actually it's the color that you need for us to build it. Then the second one, don't you think that the government has a duty to sensitize and inform the people the good and dangers of the same cyber space before enacting that very law?
All right. Thank you very much, Lottie. 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Good morning. Hello, good morning. 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Good morning.
Good morning, Pizza.
Morning to you. What's your name?
My name's Porter.
Porter
Tapisha.
Porter.
Tapisha, yes.
All right.
Yes, good morning, Pastor Mumba.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you. I just want to speak on the opposition we have today. I don't know if Dr. Mumba, you've come to think of it. All this what is happening today, the cyber laws, the breaking, the division in the alliances, it's all because we don't have the strong opposition in Zambia. So once the opposition gets organized, then everything will be okay. Because right now, as we speak, UPND has no opponent, has no anyone to fight them. So let the opposition get organized. Otherwise, we have nothing. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's squeeze in our final call. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Those lines get you through to the hot seat. Good morning. You're through to the hot seat. It's 0974-870-877, or 0950-955-877. Good morning.
Good morning, PZ.
Morning to you. What's your name?
My name is Kazwe.
Sikazo.
Yes, sir.
All right, please go ahead.
Good morning, Dr. Mumba.
Good morning, sir.
I think I'd just like to zero in on the statement that you issued that the opposition had the current president. Maybe my opinion is that sometimes when people from government, there comes a place where there's an arrogant engagement with the public, where the public speaks about certain things that are happening to them. and then the response that they get from the government or from the authorities, they do not seem to sympathize or agree. For example, I think 2 weeks ago, my neighbor had a concussion. He fell down, and I took him to the clinic. And when the nurse in charge I looked at him, he asked and says, "Can you go and buy this medicine?" And this medicine was diclofenac injection. And when I went to the pharmacy, I found it was 10 kwacha. And I asked myself, in such an urban clinic, where you can't find diclofenac injection for 10 kwacha, and then when people say there are no medicines in the hospital, and then you've got a government official who says, no, we are all loaded, there's 80% of medicines. When people say things are like this, and then somebody says we've scored 90%. Now, that kind of engagement that the government is having with people, it is what is causing resentment. And people we don't hate the president. We don't hate UPND. For some of us, it is the way the other leaders are engaging and responding to the actual challenges that people are facing on the ground. And so when we ask for opposition to engage, sometimes they come out arrogant, and also the government becomes arrogant, and then they begin to fight. So I would like to appeal to you, sir, that as you talk to the people in the UPND, there must be that humility. There must be a place where leaders should be able to say, look, we have failed. We don't have this. We are trying to do this. But this engagement is not healthy.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Skazwe. That's our final caller for today. Dr. Mumba, please respond to those.
Thank you so much. Let me actually start with Mr. Sikazwe. I hear you. You're talking about the hate that I talked about for the president. You also raised the issue that there's this behavior of arrogance when people get into government. We call it the arrogance of power. Yes, I think that happens. It happened in UNIP, it happened in MMD, it happened in PF, and it's happening in UPND. And that is up to the leaders that are there to make sure that they measure themselves in how to respond to the Zambian people. Sometimes when a government forms government, they still feel like they're in opposition, and so it's a fight. But in government, you give facts. You just tell them the answers. You tell them what government is doing, and you don't engage in a dogfight when answering questions. But we're all human beings. But you must also understand that a government has so many people speaking in the name of the government. And you have heard sometimes 4 different people claiming to speak on behalf of government, giving 3, 4 different views on a specific issue. Some are hitting back with arrogance. Some of them are, well measured because they know their role and all that. It doesn't mean the president is the one who tells them how to frame it and say it that way. But obviously, UPND spokespersons are listening. That their role is to answer the Zambian people, to ensure there is no arrogance at all in their responses. So we are all learning, and I think you have raised a very, very important matter. We all need to be measured in the way that we answer the people. But that doesn't guarantee or give you the reason to hate. Mr. Kapisha talks about the cyber laws, and also that the reason why the alliances are cracking it's because there is no opposition and they are disorganized. Well, I said something about this already, and my position basically is that if the alliance is based on common values and common vision, it's very difficult to split them. I think that our alliances today, I'm referring to Tonse and UCA, I feel very, very uncomfortable in terms of their strength. I think that those politicians in these 2 that seem to be having a little bit more votes than others are going to be the very big problems to those alliances. I won't mention any names, but there are those political parties that consider themselves a little above the other smaller parties. They are going to be the ones to destroy these 2 alliances, because they are going to be fighting to say, me, I'm more popular, I'm more important, I should lead this. That's why when they find that they can't lead Tonse, they jump to UCA to go and see whether there is room for them to lead it. And once they find out UCA has closed the door, they jump back to Tonse and apply to Tonse, so that until they find a place where they can lead. I think that that is going to continue, but unfortunately, that might be the way in which these alliances will be broken. And finally, to Loti Soko, that shouldn't government apologize for saying no to the cyber law when they were in opposition? I think that it is important to know that there was a 2021 cyber law that was done by President ECL, and this one is an updated 2025 cyber law. And I noticed that there were updates that were made and also changes that were made to this current one. And maybe based on that, they must have fallen within what this current government believes is a safe cyber law that serves the interest of the people. But again, if there is anything that I said or anybody said based on insufficient information or wrong information, of course we are able to say sorry when we realize that we shouldn't have said something. But in this case, I think the law from 2021 has been redone to produce the current one. So basically that's what I was saying. Then you said to sensitize people before enacting the cyber law. The processes took place. Like I said, it took place prior to 2021, before President ECL tabled that bill, and it was done. The process was also done in this time, and consultation was made. There's no law that can be signed into law, a bill signed into law, without consultation of the people. It will be rejected, and therefore we would like to believe that that was done. Well, I think maybe let me use this opportunity to tell our people in the movement for multi-party democracy that the provincial conferences you've been waiting for are beginning tomorrow with Central Province. We will be in Central Province, then we are going to be in Muchinga after that, and then Kasama after that. So the movement for multi-party democracy, a renewed entity is going to come forth, and we would like for you to be part of this renewed entity that is going to rise and be able to announce its way forward. So we're looking forward to tomorrow, and the people of Kabwe, get ready for us.
Dr. Mumba, I'd like to thank you very much for coming through to the hot seat this morning.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right, there you have it. That's our show for this week. Do catch my colleagues, either Hope Chishala or Chisha Mugambe, on Tuesday's edition of